Dear Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here tonight, learn something from Jim, and I pray that you just guide him, direct him, allow him to communicate as best as he can to us, and help us to be attentive and to learn and to try to absorb everything he has to teach us, Father. Just to help us to be patient and to try to learn what you're trying to tell us in the Bible, Father. Just thank you so much for your word. Thank you for this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Got a lot of missing people here tonight, but maybe they'll show up later, or maybe they're off and gone and running someplace else during the early supper time. We're in the Gospel according to John. The Gospel according to John. This is the test. Tonight is the test. All right? Right in the first place, you come into the class and there's the test. All right. Of course, who wrote the Gospel according to John? John. All right. John the Revelator. Okay, John the Revelator. And what was this gospel? In what order was it written? Is this the first, the last, the middle, or what? The last gospel. All right. Why did John write this gospel? To prove that Jesus Christ was Jehovah God himself. And all of John's writings do that. It just repeats it over and over and over again. He wants us to understand that God so loved the world that he sent himself, his only begotten Son, to die for the sins of mankind and to redeem the world back to him. All right, so there's where we are. Now we're right in the middle of a debate between Jesus, a man that was healed from blindness from his birth. What was now we looked last week at a lot of scriptures that led up to this in the Old Testament. What did the scriptures keep saying in the Old Testament? Actually, the week before last. What did the scriptures keep saying? That the Messiah would come and he'd do many miraculous things that would prove that he was a Messiah. And what was his specific messianic credential that no one else has ever done? He would heal the blind. All right. And here he has healed a man that's blind from his mother's womb. Okay? He's blind from his birth. There's no discrepancy. This man was blind. He didn't go blind. He's not losing his vision a little bit, a whole lot, or there's no way that he can recover his sight. Okay? This man was blind. He had never seen. Okay? And we read it in Greek, and then we look at all the words in English. All right? Tauta, epon, hoi, gones, autu, hote, epho, bunta, tus, yadius, ede, gar, sin et te, thento, hoi, judeoi, hina, ion, and then there, inserted in that is a tis, and then auton, homologese, Christon, aposynagoges, genete. 9:22. Gospel according to John, kata iwane, 9:22. Now we have a little demonstrative pronoun right off the bat. A demonstrative pronoun. It's accusative plural. All right? These things they said. They said. Third person plural, second aorist, indicative active. They said. What's the root of that word there, apon? What is it? What's the root of it? What is the root? The root of that word. Look down at the bottom. I'm teaching you how to read this in linear. The root is lego. All right? Now, what does lego mean? First of all, it's that's first person singular present indicative active. Lego. All right? What does lego mean? What word in English do we have from Lego? Legos? All right. What does it mean? What does it literally mean? What is the very special word in English that we have from the word Lego? What? Election. Election. Last Wednesday night I said I taught on election, salvation, and the calling of God are irrevocable in Nevada when I was up there. The word election comes from Lego. Lego literally means what? It has the picture of a bird. Okay? A bird out in the field. Boy, now my bird is not very good here. He's got a wing on him too. All right? It has a picture of a bird out in the field picking up what he wants. Seed, rocks, whatever he wants to eat. He's picking these things up. That's Lego. It means to pick out. Literally pick out. Now, the Hebrew equivalent to this is that word right there. What is that word in Hebrew? How many Hebrew scholars do we have? Who said it?
I was just about to explain it.
All right. What is this, Brother Roger?
Devar.
Devar. The word devar. Now, in the New Testament, when it comes to the word logos, it actually comes from this word here, devar. Okay? Devar means the word. It literally in Hebrew means to stand up in a row like this. We can have soldiers. We can have fence posts. We can have wheat standing in a row. Or we can have words standing in a row where you can communicate speech. Lego is basically the same thing. It means to pick out, and what we do when we speak is we pick out words from our memory and we put them up in a row so where somebody can communicate and understand what we're talking about. When we have the word logos in the New Testament, like John 1:1, 1:14, 1:18, even the Gospel of John, even the book of Revelation, when we come to this word logos here, in the Old Testament, when they wrote the name Jehovah, after they received the law, okay, that word Jehovah, they would not speak that word. They did not know how to say that word. Neither do we today. We say that word all the time, but it's a kind of a fallacy. But this is the word Hadavar. It means the word. So in John 1:1 it says, in beginning kept on being the Jehovah. And the Jehovah kept on being a separable part of the Godhead. Kahalogos sarxaganato, and it says, and the word flesh he became. And the Jehovah flesh he became. Now what does Jehovah mean? It comes from what Hebrew word? Hayah. All right? And what does that mean? To become. The root of the name Jehovah is the one who shall become. John 1:14 is a fulfillment of that title. All right. Let's look and see. Jesus, again, is proving his deity. These things he said, Tauta epon hoi gones autu. These things he said the parents of him, because they kept on fearing the Jews. They kept on fearing. The word phobia comes from this word. Our English word phobia comes from this word. All right? They kept on being caused to fear. Let's look at it. Third person plural, imperfect, indicative, passive. Passive voice means somebody's acting upon you, doesn't it? Okay? And the imperfect tense means what? Continuous action. Continuous action. They kept on fearing the Jews. They were caused to keep on fearing the Jews. Why? What were the Jews in the process of doing here? Jesus is in the process of proving that he is the Messiah, the HaMashiach, and the Jews are trying to destroy him because they don't want him. They don't want him. The wrong king is on the throne. Herod, a descendant of Esau, is on the throne. Instead of Joseph, Jesus' earthly father, or his stepfather, or foster father, whatever you want to call him. All right? And they kept on fearing the Jews already, for already they had agreed. Who? The Jews. Third person plural perfect, indicative passive. They had already stood together in their minds. That's what it literally means. That word we have, the seen antithemy. See that word, seen antithemy? They stood together in their minds because they were going to kill Jesus. They they were going to cause the death of this man. They had said in other places, we want to kill him, we got to get rid of him because he's going to take our religion away from us and our nation away from us. Herod was on the throne. Herod had killed all the original Sanhedrin. He had imported some different Levites to be the Levites, the Pharisees and everything that were following him were kind of reprobates. Some of the more austere and what we call orthodox Levites were down in the Qumran caves, down in that area in the Essenes. And they wouldn't have anything to do with those guys up there. They said they were reprobates. And of course, John preached down there, and Jesus went and preached to those people. Maybe even the book of Hebrews is written to them to get shut of all of their Jewish practices and follow the Lord. They had stood together and they had agreed, the ones Jews, in order that if any want him, he should confess, or might confess, Christ, from the synagogue, they should be kicked out, basically. They might be exited. They might become kicked out. Let's look at this word here, homologaceae. That's third person singular, first aorist, subjunctive active. Subjunctive mode means what? The mode of doubtful affirmation. Why is this a third class conditional there, that eon? See that eon? That's a conditional particle, third class conditional particle. What makes that eon a third class conditional particle? Cindy, you remember that one? The mode of that verb. Yes, the mode of that verb right there. See that subjunctive mode? The subjunctive mode rules that conditional particle. And the conditional particle in third class is what? Condition is undetermined with what? Definite prospect of termination. Okay, is this too deep for you guys? Hope not. All right. It's going to happen, probably. If somebody confesses, if somebody might confess Jesus Christ as the Messiah, they're going to kick them out of the synagogues. They're going to get rid of any believers. All right? Now 9:23. They're sealing their doom, by the way. These Jews are sealing their doom. Dia tuto, hoi genes, auto, epon, hote, elikion, eke auton, eperotesate. Because of this, that little dia tuto there, that means because of this. The parents, the generators of him. That's where we get the word Genesis. In the book of Genesis, it starts out as Barashit bara, Elohim echad shemayim v'haaretz. Okay? And the first word in the Hebrew Bible, usually from Hebrew, names the book. So that book is the book of Barashit. But in the Septuagint, they named it differently, totally different. What is the book of Genesis? The book of Genesis, all right? It's named from the Greek word to begat, or to generate. We get our word generate, we got our word generator, we get our word Genesis, all from that Greek word there. Because of the generators of him, the originators of him, the genesis of him, they said that helikion, say helikion. All right, that means full of maturity. They've come to the full age of the years of discretion and maturity. He's grown. He's able to understand what's going on. He knows his name. You know, when you have a little child, Tammy, you know when you have your baby, you're going to have to teach it what its name is. That's right. My daughter, Dakota, over there, when we named her Dakota, everybody said, oh, she's going to hate you for that, calling her that name. She always loved that name. But when somebody said North and South, are you North and South Dakota, she didn't like that very much. That didn't go wrong real good with her at all. All right? But she liked her name. Michael, When somebody named you, they gave you a really good name, didn't they? He who is like God. All right? Michael. And you like that name. You like to hear somebody call your name. When your name is called, you like that because somebody's being personal with you. They're calling your name. All right. Well, this boy knew his name. He'd already grown up. He knew mathematics. He knew how to write and whatever he could do blind. And the parents of him, they said that of it, full of maturity, he has. He continues to have. Him. You interrogate him. Look at that word. Epi rotesate. Epi on the front of that compounds the word and makes it stronger, doesn't it? And it comes from the erotao. Erotao means to interrogate. You forcefully interrogate him. 9:24. Ephoneson. Un ton anthropo. Ek deuteru hos ein tiflos. Kai epon auto dos doxon to theo emes oidamen hote hutos ho anthropos hamartolos estin. They called, therefore, the man. Greek is an inflected language like German is, and Italian and Spanish. English is a poor language, so it's not inflected very well. Okay? But here we have a word, third person plural, first aorist, indicative, active. That word they called. Our word phone, our word telephone, our word phonics, all comes from this word right here. And it means sound. And they called, therefore, the man. First aorist means what? What kind of action is that? First aorist. How many remember what first aorist is? Really punctiliar, knife blade punctiliar action. That's action like that, point action. All right? Punctiliar action. Point time action. Second aorist is what? It's punctiliar action, but it's a little more durative. It's like the lobe on a hot rod cam. It just holds it up there a little bit longer. Okay? And therefore the man they called out the second time. Who? He kept on being blind. Look at that word ain there. Third person singular and perfect indicative active. He never was anything but blind. He always was blind. John 1:1, NRK, ain ho logos. In the beginning kept on being the Jehovah. He existed before anything else did. Now this man, from the point of time that he existed in his mother's womb, he was blind. Never could see. I don't even know whether he had any eyes or not. Maybe he was born without eyes. He was born blind, period. We get a little of the Mishnah and a little bit of the Talmud in here. We get a little bit of the false theology even of Job's buddies. All in this next few verses. False theology. And some people, you got to be careful how you interpret the Bible. Who's speaking, who's he speaking to, and what's the subject. You better get that before you do anything else with it. All right? A lot of people I've heard preachers preach from the book of Job when some uninspired rat was speaking. They use his words. And sometimes in the New Testament we do the same thing. Be careful who you're quoting when you're teaching some doctrine or whatever. So let's look at what's going on here, okay? Who he kept on being blind, tuflos, sightless. And they said, third person plural, second aorist. See, well, we get the second aorist in there. It's punctiliar action, but a little more linear. And they said, third person plural, second aorist, indicative active, to him. Dative, singular, masculine, third person pronoun. That's what's autu there is. Okay? Dos. You give. That comes from didomy. Second person singular, second aorist, imperative. You give glory to the God. we know that this one, the man, sinful man he is. He keeps on being a sinner, that Jesus is a sinner. We know that he's a sinner. We know that he's an ungodly buzzard, as far as they're concerned. He's a rascal. Okay? 9:25. Apotrithe, un ikainos, hamartolos, estin, uk oida. Hen oida, hote, tiflos, hun, arte blepo. And he answered. Literally, he was called to answer, or to catch up in speech is literally what it says. It comes from apokrinomai. What does krino mean in Greek? Krino. We got our word critic from that. All right? When you criticize somebody, what do? You're judging them. That's what you're doing. You're criticizing, you're judging them. That's what it means. It's from judged, or caught up in speech. From what he had learned and everything, now he catches up in speech and he answers them. He judges back, is literally what it says. And it is a compound word, and that emphasizes it. He caught up in speech and he said, wait a minute here. I got something to say back to you. And he answered. He caught up in speech, therefore, that one, ikainos, that one over there. All right, ikainos. Nominative, singular, masculine, demonstrative pronoun. And then we have a different word here. We have a. Epsilon iota. A. Say A. A. That's easy. All right. That's a first-class conditional particle. That's the conditional particle. The condition is determined as what? As fulfilled. Completed. All right. What rules this? What makes this a first-class conditional particle? Remember what we said about the third-class conditional particle? Since is the way you would translate that. Yes, since. Since sinful he is. The word, look at that, estin. Third person singular, present, indicative. Circle that word indicative there. Indicative. That's what makes that a first-class conditional. It's in the indicative mode. And indicative mode does what? It makes a statement of fact as it is true. And then we have a little adverb of negation there. He is notly, I have known. Oida means to see with your mind's eye. Third person singular, perfect indicative active. Perfect tense is completed action. The first two verbs in the Hebrew Bible are perfect tense. Barashith bara, third person singular, third person masculine singular, perfect, cal perfect. The second verb, all right, is wiharetz hachya. Third person feminine singular, cal perfect. The earth she had become, formless and void. She had become. All right? Two perfect verbs. This is a perfect verb right here. Not I have known. One thing I know, oida, third person singular, perfect, indicative active. Not I have known if this man was a sinful man, but this one thing I know, that Tiflos, blind, I kept on being. Nominative, singular, masculine, present participle active. He kept on doing that. He kept on being. This is from Amy, all right? I was blind. I kept on being blind forever. I've never been able to see. Arte, now, blepo, I see. Now I see. Now I see. Arte, now I see. 9:26. 9 and verse 26. Dakota, you want to run over there and grab a couple more chairs? Like that? 9:26. 9 and verse 26. Everybody, this is my son that we've been praying for over the years. That was in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the boy that you prayed home. Right there. And his wife and his little babyest, the babyest girl. Apon. Un auto. T. Apoieson. Apoiesan, that is. Sui. That sounds like you're calling pigs, doesn't it? Sui, sui, sui. All right. Pos and noixen, sui, tus, ophthalmos. Okay. Therefore they said to him, dative singular masculine, third person pronoun, that's to him right there. See that? Therefore, a little old particle there, therefore they said, first person singular, or third person singular, or third person plural, that is, second aorist indicative active. They said to him, what? And here we have the word apoiesin. Apoiesin. That word in Hebrew would be what? Brother Roger? Barashith. Bara. All right, there you go. All right. He made. He created. Okay. Apoiesin. The word apoiesin there also means our word poem comes from it. Poem. What do you do when you do a poem? You make words rhyme. Okay, you make them, you put words together and you make them rhyme. And they said therefore to him what he did. He made what he created to you. How? Pos. How? That's an adverb. How he opened up of you the eyes. Look at that word ophthalmos. That's accusative plural. All right? Ophthalmos. Accusative plural. Now the eyes. Have you ever been to an ophthalmologist? There's where the word comes from. All medical terms and scientific terms come from Greek. All legal terms come from Latin. Because the Catholic Church ruled the world, and they took the language of the Bible away and replaced it with Latin, and all doctors and lawyers were educated in Latin. And they gave us the Bible in Latin with the Latin Vulgate, and nobody could read it except the doctors and lawyers. And the average person in the world, that's what brought in the Dark Ages. Okay? That's what brought in the Dark Ages. Now, this was another testimony against these Jews. When a man was healed of leprosy, when somebody was raised from the dead, they had to go to the priest to get cleansed to make sure, because all of these Jews had the idea that if you were born blind, your mother or your father sinned, and somebody was guilty of something. Okay? Somebody was guilty of something. And so there had to be an offering made. A guilt offering, basically. And then you had to get a certificate that you were healed, that you no longer had leprosy or whatever it was that you had, sickness, whatever. And this man was blind. So somebody had to be a terrible sinner when this man was born blind. Okay? How did he open up the eyes of you? 9:27. Apokrite. Altois. Apon. Himen. Ade. Kai. Uk. Ekusate. T. Pauline. Delete. Akuane. Me. Kai. Himes. Delete. Altu. Mathete, geneste. And he was caused to catch up in speech to them. Dative plural. Masculine, third person pronoun. I said, or I told to you already. Heyday, already. And not ye heard. Why didn't they hear him? Because they didn't want to hear him. Remember Jesus before this, the last week that we studied these verses, Jesus told them they were all blind. And in the Old Testament it says that spiritually blind would be blind, that those that were born blind would receive their sight, but the spiritually blind would be more deeply blind. They could not hear and they would not see. Second person plural. First aorist indicative active. Ye heard. See, that word acoustic comes from that word akuo. What again? T, that's a little interrogative. Pronoun, again, a little adverb of repetition. Pauline. Delete. this fellow here. What ye wish to hear. In one of the most beautiful chapters in the Bible is Ephesians, the first chapter. And it repeats over and over all kinds of ideas of boule. What does boule mean? Boule in Greek. Boule, boulamai. What does that mean? Boule. That means to wish or to will. And what else? Nous, the mind. All right. We look at different words for mind and thinking. Here we have the word thelete. It comes from thelo. And in the first chapter of the book of Ephesians, it uses the word thelematos. Thelematos. Thelematos means a spiritual activating force. What causes people to do the things they do? What causes people to do the things they do? The spirit that dwells in them. That's what causes them to do the things that they do. Evil things. Thomas, you know what a 45 ACP is? Yep, you do. 45 ACP means 45 automatic Colt pistol, 451 to 452 diameter, okay? About 6 grains or 7 grains of powder behind it, and traveling at least 1,800 to 1,200 feet per second, pretty hot stuff. You know why that was created? That automatic Colt pistol? You know why it was created? Huh? Knock down people.
Knock down 155-pound Filipinos.
When they created it, we were having the war in the Philippines. And they would be hopped up on drugs really bad. And the 38 Special that they were using would not stop them. Would not stop them. So they used the 45 ACP because that would knock a guy down no matter what he's doing. But people get so hopped up on drugs right now. One time, I remember about 30 years ago, down here at Olive Drive, where you cut off on Olive Drive at that time off of Highway 99, a cop pulled a guy over there, and he had a .357 Magnum. And he shot the guy that he pulled over 6 times with a .357 Magnum. And the guy took the pistol away from him and pistol whipped him with it. Because he was so drugged up, couldn't stop him. In the book of Revelation, it talks about pharmakia. Pharmakia. What word in English do you think we get from pharmakia? Huh? Pharmacy. Drugs. You know that drugs have a lot to do with demonic activity. Drugs and alcohol have a lot to do. Why do people do terrible things when they get drunk? Or when they get intoxicated or wiped out on drugs? How come they have superhuman strength? Have you ever wondered about that? You know why? Because they got supernatural strength in them. That is wrong. Why do some people have so much power over other people? Why do they have so much power over? How does a person get so much power over other people? Charles Manson? Adolf Hitler? Jim Jones? We could just name a whole lot of them. How did they have this tremendous power over the power of influence? How did they have it? Because of spiritual activating forces within them that gave them the ability. Charles Taze Russell, the originator of the Jehovah's Witnesses. The man wasn't real brilliant. He was a con artist. But he led people astray by the millions. Joseph Smith was basically a flunky, a little screwball, so to speak, a fortune hunter and everything. But he went and joined up with the Masonic Lodge, and he took the Masonic Lodge doctrine and made a religion out of it, which we call Mormonism today. And millions of people are led astray. How does that happen? Thelematos. Spiritual activating forces. That's how it happens. Look at this here. What again ye want? What is spiritually activating you to desire another answer? Why do you want a different answer than the one I'm giving you? I've told you How many times did I tell you, I was blind, I was Tiflos, I couldn't see, and now I see. I don't know who that guy is that healed my eyes and gave me sight, but I know it happened. And of course, that was a very definite messianic credential. What do ye wish to hear? And then we have a particle of negation, may kaihimes. Not also ye spiritually activated. Look at that word, second person plural present indicative active. Remember this word theolo means to spiritually want something, a spiritual force behind you. Do you want? Is something causing you to become disciples? Mathete. Look at that word mathete there. What does mathete mean? What's mathete mean? Habitual learners. Disciples to become. Second aorist, infinitive, middle voice. Okay? They didn't want to become disciples. They didn't what they want to do. Wanted to murder him. They were murderers. 928. Kai. Eloi do re son. Alton. Kai epon. Si mathetes. Ekainu. Emes. De. Tu. Mosios. Esmen. Mathete. And they insulted. They ridiculed. They scrutinized. They reviled him. Third person plural, first aorist indicative active. They reviled him. And they said, you, a disciple you are. You, a disciple you are. That one. Of that one, belonging to that one. Look at that word ekainu there. That's genitive singular masculine, demonstrative pronoun. You're a disciple of that one, belonging to that one. That's a genitive case. That case of possession. You belong to him. We of the Moses. We belong to Moses. We are disciples of Moses. Moshe. Moses. We belong to Moses. You know that the Jews looked upon Moses as equal to Jehovah God. If you use Moses' name in vain, they would stone you. Yeah. If you use God's name in vain, they would stone you. They wouldn't even speak the name Jehovah because they were afraid they were going to use it in vain. And the name of Moses, people spoke the name of Moses, but if you use the name of Moses in vain, you were in a lot of trouble. Today, you can use the Lord Jesus Christ's name in all kinds of profanity. But if you use Mohammed's name, you're going to get killed. You're going to have a contract out on you. Do you see something wrong with that? Jesus is creator of the heaven and earth. Mohammed was the originator of a religion. That's all. Just a religion. It's one of the biggest religions in the world, one of the most powerful religions in the world. The Catholic Church and the Muslim world or Islam have the same goal. The Catholic Church achieved it one time, didn't they? What was that? They wanted to rule the whole world. They wanted to rule the whole world. And they did, pretty much. And across that Mediterranean lake, or sea, whatever you want to call it, they chased each other back and forth, killing each other back and forth. The Catholic Church was brought down to its knees during the Reformation. But Islam keeps growing and growing and growing in power. Over and over and over again, more powerful all the time. Islam followed Catholicism in everything that they did. They made converts by the sword. That's the way to make them.
In fact, one of the groups, my first exposure to that religion was, by way of the sword, was the title of the people that were doing the battle. I think it was described to me as two different sects of Islam, and by the way of the sword is the name of one of the sects.
Yes, by the way of the sword.
Somebody can-
By the way of the
way
sword.
back.
Yeah. That's the way they converted people. They believed in conquer. They believed that might was right. And Catholicism taught the same thing. Catholicism. Catholicism is a religion of belief. Just blind belief. And Islam is a religion of blind belief. Christianity is a religion of belief, but you study the Bible and it's not going to lead you astray with science or creation or anything in the world. It's not going to lead you astray. It's going to be there. Islam says, well, we believe in evolution. They will tell you that. Islam believes in evolution. The Bible believes in creation. In creation. Let's go on a little further now. They insulted him. And it said, are you a disciple of that one also? Of Moses. We are. And then in 8:29 or 9:29, Hemes, Oidaman, Hote, Mose, Lele Ken, Ho Theos, Tuton, De, Uk, Oidamen, Pothen, Estin. We have known that Moses, he has spoken. We know that Moses has spoken. All right? By the way, what's weird about that? What's a little bit weird about this? We know that Moses has spoken. What's wrong with that? Huh? What's wrong with this right here? There's something definitely wrong with it. What's wrong with Moses' speech? He couldn't talk. Moses could hardly speak. Now, if you go back to the book of Jasher, you find out that when Moses went into the, Moses means to draw out or to rescue. That's what his name means. And Pharaoh's daughter, what was her name? What was the translation of Pharaoh's daughter's name? Daughter of God. Okay. That was the translation. Her name, Daughter of God. Okay. They took him into Pharaoh's palace according to the book of Jasher. Book of Jasher is a historic book. It's not inspired, but it's a historic book. Okay? It's a history book. Just like Josephus, just like Philo and many of those books back then. Okay? The Arco volumes. These are Eusebius. These are history books. Okay? The book of Jasher is a history book. And the book of Jasher says that Moses was brought into the palace of Pharaoh, and that he was playing around as a little old, not much more than an infant, and he grabbed Pharaoh's throne and put it on his own head. And the book of Jasher says Balaam was there. You know who Balaam is? The guy that had the talking donkey? All right? That's the same guy. He's an old guy. He did a lot of wrong and over a long, long time. Anyway, he was in Pharaoh's palace. And he said, take that child out and kill him right now. He's going to take your throne away from you. And then there was another man there, Moses' father-in-law, that had several names. What was some of Moses' father-in-law's name? Jethro. Ru. All right. Ruel. These are all Moses' father-in-law's name. He was there, and he was a counselor to Pharaoh, the book of Jasher says. He said, I'll tell you what to do. The child is an innocent child under the age of Hilkiah. Okay, we just used that one. Under the age of accountability. If he did that, we think, I'll tell you how to figure it out. Take a onyx stone and take a burning coal of fire and put it out before him. And if he grabs the onyx stone, it means that he has discernment. But if he grabs that hot coal of fire, what is the child going to do with the first thing that when they have? What do? Stick it in their mouth. He said if he's an innocent child, he will grab one of those things, he may grab the coal of fire, and instantly he will put it in his mouth. And it says when he put the stone in his mouth, it burned his mouth so badly that he had trouble speaking for the rest of his life. Now, God could have healed that when he called Moses out, but Moses wanted to stick with that, not being able to talk. And he said, Lord, I can't speak well. I can hardly speak at all, and I haven't gotten any better since you called me. He said, I made man's mouth. I can make you speak. But he said, since you want to be stubborn about this, have Aaron do your talking for you. Okay, so Aaron did the talking. Moses didn't do much talking. He didn't do much speaking, but he told Aaron what to do. All right. Ye have known that Moses, he has spoken. The God, this one. But not we have known from where this man is. And this is foolishness. They know exactly where Jesus was born. Where was Jesus born? Bethlehem, the city of David. Because he was a descendant of David. He was supposed to be a descendant of David. In Matthew, the Gospel according to Matthew, you have Jesus' lineage through who? Matthew. Who's that lineage through? There's two lineages of Jesus in the Bible through two different people. The book of Matthew is through who? Joseph. Because Matthew looked at Jesus Christ as the King of Israel. Okay? So it looks at him as the King of Israel, which he was supposed to inherit the throne through Joseph. And the book of Luke looks at Jesus as who? The son of woman or the son of man. The son of woman would be the Messianic child, Genesis 3:15, the seed of the woman. All right? And that is Mary's lineage. All right? In the book of Luke, Mary's lineage. Well, Moses we have known, and he has spoken, the God has spoken through him, this one. But this man, not we know from where he is. They knew that exactly that he was born in Bethlehem. When the Magi, and the word Magi, what English word comes from Magi? Magistrate, rulers. These were kings, all right? How many there were, we do not know. Tradition says there were 3. There might have been 300 of them. I don't know if it was a party of them that came there all the way from the east to worship Jesus. Because they knew it was the time that he was supposed to be born. Not so much the star, but the time. The time for him to be born. It was time for the Messiah to be born. Okay? And they went to worship him. And of course they went to Jerusalem, where is the king supposed to be. That was the seat of Israel. And they went to the palace. And of course, who was squatting on the throne at that time? Herod, the toad on the throne. Okay? The wrong man on the throne. And said, we came to worship the new king of Israel. And he said, yeah, tell me about it. And so he called the scribes and the Levites. And he said, where is the Messiah supposed to be born? And they said, Bethlehem. Okay, go to Bethlehem when you find him. Come back and tell me, and I want to go worship him too. I want to go murder him is what he wanted to do. Because he was competition. All right? They knew where he was born. They knew where he was raised. Where was he raised? Nazareth. That comes from the Hebrew Natsir. What does Natsir mean? Root. He was a root out of dry ground. A root out of dry ground. He was from Nazareth. The people in Nazareth knew who he was. All right? It was in Nazareth that Mary had the visitation from Gabriel. Probably at what they call Mary's well there. That Gabriel visited her and told her that she was going to have a Messiah. That she was going to have the Messiah. She was going to have a child. That God was going to bring forth his seed into this world. That Jehovah was going to be born in flesh. 9 and verse 30. These people are sealing their doom. They're sealing their doom. Apokrite, ho anthropos, kai epain, autois, and tuto, garto thamaston, esten, hote, hemes, uk, oidate, pothen, esten, kai, and noixen, mu, tus, ophthalmus. And the man. This is kind of backwards here. Go from the right to the left, because that's exactly grammatically how it works. And the man, he answered. We go from the right, and then the man. Nominative singular masculine. The man is the subject. How many cases do you have in Greek? In Koine and Classical Greek, how many cases are there? 8. Who can name the 8 cases? Tammy, can you do it? I bet you can do it.
No.
Nominative, genitive, optative, locative, instrumental, dative, accusative, and vocative. Nominative, genitive, optative, locative, instrumental, dative, accusative, and vocative. 8 cases. All right. This is the case. This is what we call the nominative case, which is the subject. How many cases do we have in English? 2. Subject, object, basically. All right. In Greek, there are 8. Tells you all about it. The most definite language that's ever been created by man, and that's the main language that God put His New Testament in. And He answered the man, and He said to them, in this, one thing, thaumasto. This means amazing. It means to be struck out of your senses. This means something supernatural has happened, and you're astonished. Okay? You're awestruck. It is because ye have known from where He is, and He opened up of me the eyes. He opened up of me the eyes. Now, the religious leaders, instead of confirming that Jesus Christ was the Messiah, they wanted to incriminate Him as just a high-class charlatan doctor. That He was just a doctor practicing medicine on the Sabbath. All right? But that's not what He was. 931. Oidomen. Hote. Harmartolo. Ho theos. Uk akue. Alla. Ion. Tis theosebes. He. Kai. To thelama. Autu. Poie tuto. Akue. We have known that sinful ones, the God not He hears. But if anyone God-fearing, Theosebius, Eusebius, word the name Eusebius, that means worshipful. That means it means to fear and to be a godly, God-fearing man. Okay? Here we have the word theosebes, God-fearing. That means to handle yourself carefully. He might be, and the will of Him He does, this one He hears. Now, what he's saying here, basically, is they're going back to the Talmud and the Mishnah, and right back to the book of Job. Why did Job's friends say that he was a bad guy? Job 35 and verse 13. Why did they say that Job was a bad man? He must have sinned because all of these bad things are happening to him, and if you're a God-fearing man, God is going to bless you, and there's nothing going to stop you. I got news for you. Bad things happen to good people. That's fact. Okay? And I want to tell you something else. We know that only godly people, only godly people, only people that are not sinners, God hears their prayers. That's what it says in this verse right here. Who's saying this? Who's speaking? I hear this all the time now. God doesn't hear the prayers of sinners. You ever heard that before? God does not hear the prayers of sinners. You know where it comes from? This verse right here. Who's speaking? Who's speaking in this verse? The Pharisees. Were they God-fearing? No way. They purported to be God-fearing, but they sure weren't God-fearing, because here they're trying to incriminate God the Son, Jehovah in the flesh. We know that God doesn't hear the prayers of sinners. How would anybody ever get saved if God didn't hear the prayers of sinners? I want to know something. How would anybody ever get saved if they didn't hear the prayers of sinners? Besides that, there's only two kinds of sinners in the world. Lost ones and saved ones. We're all sinners. So we know that God hears the prayers of sinners, but these people didn't believe that. They didn't believe that. But we have it rubbed off on us today because of poor hermeneutics. God hears the prayers of sinners. Nobody would get saved. Nobody could ever get anywhere with God at all because we're all sinners. We're all sinners. Right? We have known that sinful ones, the God not he hears. Sinners he doesn't hear. But the God-fearing people, those righteous people, God hears and obeys their prayers. And here it goes back to the Mishnah and the Talmud over and over again. Right back to the book of Job, where they believed. What happened to Job's friends? Who approached Job's friends finally in the end? God himself approached them and denounced them. You guys are rats. Job I love. Job's just being tested. That was all. Job was just being tested. That's all. 9:32. See now, you got a brand new look at that verse, don't you? How many times we know that God doesn't hear the prayers of sinners? You heard that? All your life you heard that. Come from the Pharisees, got from the book of Job, come from old Eliphaz. 9:32. Ek tu oinos. Uk ekuste. Ekuste. Kote. Enoxen. Tis ophthalmos. Tuflon. Gagan. Ne menod. Out of the age not, it was heard that he opened up anyone's eyes of the blind one having been born. Cindy, can you bring the Amplified, you do have the Amplified Bible with you, can you bring that Amplified Bible up with you and read from there to where we are right there in verse number 32? Get our professor up here to read for us. 9:22 through 32.
His parents said this because they feared the leaders of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone should acknowledge Jesus to be the Christ, he should be expelled and excluded from the synagogue. On that account his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So the second time they summoned the man who had been born blind and said to him, "Now give God the glory, praise. This fellow we know is only a sinner, a wicked person." Then he answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner and wicked or not, but one thing I do know, that whereas I was blind, before now I see." So they said to him, "What did he actually do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered, I already told you, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Can it be that you wish to become his disciples also? And they stormed at him, they jeered, they sneered, they reviled him, and retorted, "You are his disciple yourself, but we are the disciples of Moses. We know for certain that God spoke with Moses, but as for this fellow, we know nothing about where he hails from." The man replied, "Well, this is astonishing. Here a man has opened my eyes, and yet you do not know where he comes from. That is amazing. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is God-fearing and a worshiper of him and he does his will, he listens to him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind."
All right. 9:32. There's where we, 9:22 to 9:32. That's where we'll finish this week. Do you have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? What we've covered tonight. Noah, you have a question? I think he's disgusted. Well, he could fear for it. They can stone him. First of all, he was healed on the Sabbath. They could stone him for being healed on the Sabbath.
Maybe it was something miraculous to him, but nothing else.
He was very disgusted with these people. These were the religious leaders that he'd grown up with all of his life, that he couldn't even go to the synagogue because he was a sinner. He was blind. Something was wrong. That accused him of being born in sin all of his life. And that's what they're going to say in the next few verses. You were born in sin. And you're telling us righteous people that we're wrong? Us separate people, Pharisees? that were wrong? We are so religious, you know. Most of you people couldn't even shine our shoes. We wouldn't let you, couldn't touch us. We're separate. Pharisees. They were separate from each other. All right. Anything else? Megan, you got any questions? Good to have you here tonight. Anyone else? Any other questions? You have any question or anything? No? All right. Nothing? All right. Well, go out and do something eternal. I'll try to be here next week for you. How's that? I want you to pray for Thomas. Thomas, we've been really... we prayed for him. He was in 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. He got blown up and shot up and everything terrible over there. And when he was raised, he had a hard life. I met his mother when he was 3 years old, and I took to raise him when he was 4. And he went through a lot of stuff. So we went through a lot of stuff together. And we just got back together after all these years, and now they want to ship him to Germany. And so he's don't want to go. Pray that God somehow or another will turn this thing around so he can be around me more. Okay? And anyway, thank you for being here. And I want you to go out and do something eternal this week. Go out and do something that will count and follow you into eternity. All right? All right. Brother Roger, do you want to come up and dismiss us in prayer tonight, brother? Did I scare you to death? All right.
Father, thank you for bringing us here this evening and letting us hear your word in depth and looking at it in ways that maybe we've had it misinterpreted for us in the past. Guide us and direct us as we take your word and apply it through our life during the week. Guide us in all of our actions. Thank you for all you've done for us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
So